Welcome everyone to the Evolution of Knowledge Transfer keynote. I'm Greg Williams, founder of EXOPS AI. It's a quick overview. Who am I? Who is EXOPS AI? The great crew change, knowledge, generative AI, personal law story of mine, generative AI use cases in other industries, my own AI realization, generative AI use cases in the drilling industry, the real point, the flame, the future, and the legacy, and then we'll close up. So my name is Greg Williams. I am from a small town in North Louisiana named Manning. I currently call Houston home and Dubai my second home, and I'm the founder of EXOPS AI. I've spent over 30 years in the drilling industry. Well, this past May puts me at 30 years. I started on land rigs in northern Louisiana that made my way offshore in the Gulf of Mexico. Here I am, standing in the V-door of the DF-96, working for Anadarko on the Moonstone project. DF-96 was my first semi-submersible. It became one of my classrooms and a bit of a proving ground, but we can talk about rigs later. They're still one of my favorite topics. From there, I went on to the deepwater horizon, working my way up from roustabout to driller. In 2008, I moved into new technology, then into upgrade and repair, eventually back into operations. That led to an international assignment in West Africa, and I've been working international ever since as an assistant rig manager, ops manager, director of operations. Today I'm speaking to you from Dubai on a Sunday afternoon. So that's proof that this industry is taking me to more places than I could ever imagined when I first stepped foot on the rig floor. Like many of you, I've seen the highs and the lows, the booms, the downturns, the startups, the shutdowns, and through it all, one of our largest challenges has been, the loss of experience. Every time a skilled crew member moves on or retires or leaves the industry, we lose more than just a person. We lose their judgment, their instinct, all the hard-earned lessons, all of the teachings, all of this stuff that can't be found in a manual. So EXOPS AI exists to help solve that problem, or basically bridge that problem. We provide generative AI solutions that don't just automate, they capture knowledge, structure it, and make it accessible when and where people need it. We create AI-powered virtual assistants and automation tools tailored to industries like the oil and gas, tools that help with compliance, risk assessment, training, and operational decision making. As I said earlier, we've got over 30 years in field operations, and as of recently, earlier in this year, been trained in generative AI. We bring a unique mix of real-world experience and AI expertise. Our goal is to build AI that works for you, adapts to your needs, and ensures your team has the right knowledge at the right time. The main thing is there's more than just technology. It's about keeping what we know alive and making sure it's there for the next generation of people in the industry. For those of us in the oil and gas, I think we all agree we're in the middle of what most of us, we started this discussion years and years ago, and we called it the great crew change. But unlike past transitions, this time we've been handed something very powerful that wasn't available before, which is artificial intelligence, or more specifically, generative AI. And I want to say something bold here. I believe that technology is more than a new tool. It's a bridge. It's a bridge from one generation's experience to the next generation's readiness. On knowledge, we'll talk about their first tools, preservation, core memories, and the loss of it. Let's go back a little bit, not to the 1970s, not to your first rotation on the rig, but way, way back. Before manuals, before libraries, there were stories. Knowledge didn't live in files or folders, it lived in people. People who sat around fires and said, don't go near that plant, use this stone to crack that nut. The water rises every third moon. These were what we call memory keepers, human hard drives with bad sleep schedules. And when they passed on, so did the data. Then something changed. We started carving on walls, on clay, writing on scrolls. We made knowledge stick. This was humanity's first version of save as. And then came books, not digital ones, the dusty, beautiful kind. You remember the first time you opened an encyclopedia, that smell, the textured page with the big block letters, and the world was laid out alphabetically. That wasn't just a reference book. That was a memory trigger for all of us. For those of us that's probably reading this keynote or that's listening to this keynote, our core memories don't just smell like paper. They smell like diesel, they smell like grease, they smell like sweat inside of your hard hat. You know, your first time on a crew boat, your first basket ride. Yeah, your first personnel basket ride was an exciting one. Knuckles were white, heart was pounding a little bit. First helicopter trip out, I know mine in particular, wondering why it smelled like wet socks and jet fuel at the same time. But it goes deeper than that, doesn't it? Our core memories are also about, different people that we've met throughout our career. That one supervisor who wouldn't let you knock off without finishing a task. The procedure you repeated so many times it became instinct. The near miss that rewired how you prepared for every single handover. These experiences stack up like Jenga blocks. I'm sure everyone here knows Jenga or has played Jenga before, but you know how it works. You pull from the wrong spot and the whole tower falls down. That's what's happening in our workforce right now. We're pulling core knowledge blocks from the bottom and trying to restack them at the top. But if we do it wrong, the whole structure falls. Now let's bring it forward. We've got people retiring, people with decades of judgment that never made it into a PDF. And what do we say? We'll just get new folks trained up. There's documentation, it's in the manual. Is it though? Is their knowledge and experience in a manual? How do you transfer instinct? How do you train context? How do you bottle up that feeling when something is just not right? According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, industries such as utilities, manufacturing, and transportation have among the oldest medium workforces in the country. We're just speaking just about the U.S. at the moment. As of the latest data, over 50% of utility workers are aged 45 and above, with 27% aged 55 or older. In manufacturing, 25% of the workforce is aged 55 plus, and the National Association of Manufacturers warn of a shortage of over 2.1 million workers by 2030. Aviation maintenance technicians average over 51 years old, with fewer young replacements entering the pipeline. Here's where I want you to lean in, because for the first time, we have a way to capture thinking. Not just steps. With Generative AI, we're not just building digital assistants. We're building digital memory. Imagine a GPT trained not just on books, but on your experience, on your phrasing, your patterns, your risk logic. It's not replacing us, it's remembering who we are. So the next person doesn't have to relearn what you've already figured out the hard way. We've had a long tradition of storytelling in this industry. We pass down lessons like toolboxes with dents and tapes and character. But now we have a chance to build digital apprentices, tools that don't forget, tools that don't retire, tools that don't get distracted during shift handover. And if we build them right, they'll remember not just what we did, but why we did it. Before we move into how other industries are using this technology, I wanted to share something that stayed with me for years. In 2010, I lost my mom to cancer. Like many of us, I walked the halls of the hospital. I sat in the waiting room. I listened to terms I didn't know. I didn't even fully understand, and I trusted the process just because I didn't know any different. But as I look back now, with the tools we have today, I can't help but wonder, could a generative AI have helped me? Of course, not in curing her, but in preparing myself and my family. In those early stages when symptoms were unclear, when we had more questions than we got answers, when our family was overwhelmed and information felt very foggy, and it was just a whirlwind of emotions and feelings and trying to put everything together and trying to understand what was going on. What if there was a tool that said, here are 3 questions you could ask your doctor. Here's what the diagnosis may mean. And here's a way to understand the treatment plan in simple terms. That kind of clarity, it doesn't change the outcome, but it changes how you experience it. It gives you a sense of control when everything else feels out of your hands. And it's why I believe this technology, when used with care, has real power, not just in the oil and gas, but in hospitals, in schools, in law offices, in warehouses, in moments when people don't need more information, they need structure, guidance, and a way forward. And that's what a GPT can give them. Let's talk about where this is already happening. In healthcare, manufacturing, education, logistics, aviation, multiple places. We'll just show a few examples through this keynote. In healthcare, there's a nursing education simulation. The UCSF's nursing team built a generative AI patient simulation using ChatGPT to create interactive scenarios illustrating factors like socioeconomic status and holistic patient context. In manufacturing, Caterpillar's generative AI applications. Caterpillar uses generative AI to streamline data collection, automate machine diagnostics, and prepare predictive maintenance reports for their CMAs, reducing manual analysis across multiple systems. In education, K through 12, AI integration in British Columbia schools. Abbotsford and New Westminster school districts in British Columbia are piloting GPT-based tools to personalize lessons plans, scaffold a complex curriculum, and support ethically guided use of general AI in classrooms. In logistics, these are Gen AI powered routing. Leading logistics providers are using AI routing and manifest generators that dynamically adapt to order changes, driver constraints, and route conditions, integrated into dispatch tools. In aviation, these are safety pre-flight planning. Generative AI enhances pre-flight weather planning for general aviation pilots by offering tailored, context-rich weather insights and scenario-based guidance to boost situational awareness and help reduce weather-related risks. It's my own AI realization. I'd like to bring this back home, back to our industry, back to something a bit more personal. In 2004, I was promoted to assistant driller. Now, I know what some people, when you get promotions, you may be thinking congratulations or, oh, sink or swim, that. But I was willing to learn. I was eager to prove they made the right decision. Some folks didn't agree with the promotion, but that's okay. The few that did became some of the most influential people in my career. Not because they told me what I wanted to hear, but because they taught me what I needed to know. One of the biggest things they taught me early on was empathy. Empathy as a supervisor, empathy as a teammate, empathy when someone's trying to keep up. Because here's the truth, right? I didn't know how to figure out points of interest down hole. I didn't know how to write a pipe tally. I didn't know how to assist the driller where he needed the help. But what I did have was hunger. I wanted to learn. I had a willingness to stay after tower, to go over manuals, to look at procedures. I filled in tally book after tally book with handwritten notes out of equipment documentation, just to get an edge and try to understand what this new equipment was doing, how I could better operate it, how I could better maintain it. I'd look at the drawings, I'd guess what might happen before it did, and then I'd see if all of this would work during the day. So that was my system, because I didn't want to let the people down that gave me my first shot, right? Eventually, I learned how to keep the driller happy. Then I moved further on. I started learning more about downhole. I stayed behind and I talked to the guys, some of the older guys that's in the industry for a long time, even other positions like geologists and mud engineers, just to figure out or try to understand how their role fit into the operation, and try to just get a little bit of knowledge from these guys. It's hard to get outside of your area of expertise, but if you open up your mind and you go into those areas where those other guys are at, you can learn a valuable, just a massive amount of knowledge that they have to pass on, and they're willing to talk about it, and they're willing to share those experiences with you. That's how so many of us were raised in the industry, not with shortcuts, but with exposure, with repetition, with long days and longer nights, just trying to figure it out on our own. Now here's the moment that hit me. I asked myself, what if I had access to generative AI back then? Could it have helped me? Could it have saved me some of those long nights? Could it have explained the same information in my language that wasn't in manuals? And I came to realize that's the thought, the question. That was the leap. That was my aha moment, as they call it. Because suddenly, I wasn't just thinking about my learning curve. I was thinking about the next guys, the next assistant driller, the next guy who's got that fire, but no one's willing to stay up late and teach him how to do it. Things like pipe tallies are point of interest downhole. And that's when it became crystal clear for me. We're not just looking at a new tool. We're standing in the middle of one of the most important transitions in the history of knowledge transfer. This right now is the moment where we either let the wisdom walk out the door, or we capture it, structure it, and make sure it's ready for the next person who's willing to learn. So let's talk about how Gen AI could actually work for us. Not in a brochure, not in Silicon Valley somewhere in California, but on the rig, in the driller's shack, during shift changes, at 2 a.m. when someone needs to make a decision and can't find an answer in a binder or a procedure. Let's walk through some real scenarios where generative AI has a place in our industry. Supporting young crews during task execution. Picture this. You've got a 27-year-old assistant driller. He's got a good head on his shoulders, but he's not really sure about certain procedures and certain things. Crew's in the middle of a transition with SimOps. He's got multiple things going on at one time. He's got this guy with a permit. He's working on this. He's a responsible person for this. He's a responsible person for that. He's not sure which equipment tags were verified and which weren't. He's got to go back down and recheck all the documentation of the paperwork. Instead of calling someone or flipping through a 60-page PDF, 60 pages is probably a lot, but I would probably say that generally our procedures out there are no shorter than 5-6 pages long these days. He prompts an AI assistant with walk me through what I should double check before pressure testing during SIMOPS. He gets a step-by-step prompt tree based on site's actual workflow. Nothing replaces the permit or the procedure, but it adds structure to help him think through what's next faster. How about improving handover consistency and communication? I mean, I'll be the first one to admit here, handovers are a hit or a miss. Some are precise, just depends on who's writing it. Some are, you'll figure it out. A Gen AI can take in the outgoing crew notes, sometimes scattered across whether it's whiteboards, log books, a paper, memory, whatever it may be, and generate a structured handover summary that includes priority tasks, equipment status, any abnormal readings, risks that require follow-up. Now, the oncoming crew walks into shift with a shared context, not guesswork. Bridging knowledge gaps on rare events. What happens when a mud pump fails mid-circulation and the only guy who fixed it the last time retired 6 months ago? A Gen AI tool trained on prior event logs, maintenance records, and procedures could respond to what's the recommended troubleshooting order for the loss of pump pressure during displacement, and return a logic-based list with potential causes ranked by frequency and severity. Not just a manual, a contextual memory that pulls from the actual history of that rig or fleet of rigs. What about helping new engineers understand the why and not just the what? Most junior engineers knows what mud weight is, but do they understand why the margin is what it is under dynamic conditions? Imagine an AI that doesn't just spit out a definition, it teaches you. Explain kick tolerance to me like I'm a trainee, or what factors influences surge and swab in the while we're running casing. Now we've got a learning companion that speaks engineering but in plain usable language. And here's the kicker. That same AI can switch modes, summarize this for regulatory inspectors, translate this for the local HSE manager. We can create briefings for toolbox talks or safety moments. Every supervisor knows what it's like to stand in front of a crew and draw a blank sometimes. Mouth open, no words coming out. Gen AI can prepare custom toolbox talks, outline based on the day's planned tasks and past incidents and environmental conditions. You can prompt it with toolbox talk on lifting safety with a new deck crane operator in windy conditions. In 30 seconds, you've got opening context, key hazards, questions to ask the crew, notes for follow-up. No garbage there, just the bones you need to deliver a tight, focused briefing. What about simulation and what-if planning in downtime? During weather delays or flat time, crews can engage in what-if simulations generated on the fly. What if we lost primary well control while running casing? What's the sequence if a fire alarm is triggered while bunkering? Generate a SimOps conflict scenario involving crane operations and tank cleaning. This creates a culture of preparedness, not paranoia. It trains brains to think critically, not just follow. And that's the real point. These aren't sci-fi fantasies. They're practical, field-based enhancements to capture, transfer, and apply knowledge. Because it's not just about what's written down anymore. It's about how fast we can understand, apply, and adapt. If a tool can help a crew member make a 2% better decision in a critical moment, that's not automation. That's risk reduction. That's leadership. Not to replace anyone, but to support everyone. To give structure where there's silence. To keep what we know alive. So where does this leave us? We've built knowledge from the ground up, from firelight to footnotes, from tally books to tight reports, from muscle memory to machine logic, and now we're here, in the middle of a turning point. You've heard this before, we're standing on the shoulders of giants, but right now, we're losing giants every month, and with them, we're losing experience and insight. Not because people won't share, but because we haven't given them the right way to pass it on. But we can change that. We have the tools now. We can build GPTs that don't just know the steps. They understand the logic, the exceptions, the gray areas. We can capture judgment. We can preserve decision making. We can teach the next generation how we think, not just what we did, and that changes everything. Let me leave you with this. There was a time when you were a mentor. It taught you something you never forget. Could have been on your first hitch, could have been after your first near miss, could have been over a bad cup of coffee in a break room with no AC, and now you're the mentor. Whether you know it or not, people are watching how you lead. They're watching how you solve, how you react, how you teach. And the question I'll leave you with is this: will your knowledge end with you? Or will it carry forward in a form someone else can learn from? That's the opportunity we've been handed. Not to automate what we have or what we do, but to preserve what we've earned. Let's not waste it. Thank you very much. If there's any questions, if there's any follow-ups, if there's anything that you would like to share, or you would like a copy of this keynote, then feel free to leave it in the comments. It'll be posted on YouTube and it'll be shared on LinkedIn. Thank you very much for watching the keynote. There's a few things in there that we continuously work on here with EXOPS AI, but I think that the main point of the keynote there is to show you the knowledge drain that's currently going, that's happening right now in the industry, and how we can use generative AI to protect that knowledge and share it with the next generation.